you tread forward in the face of fear, when you tread forward in the face of uncertainty, you are now leading. It's easy to lead when you know the path. It's easy to lead when you're assured of the outcome. But that's why very few people will do it. And so I think for me, those who are willing to host events, those who are willing to have the meetings, continue with a podcast like this, do the things and make the changes that they need to make during times that are uncertain are the ones that are going to do well.
Welcome to the closing table. You've found a mastermind for real estate, mortgage, and pros from related industries with a commitment to reach more people, provide more value, and create a genuine rapport with clients, partners, and teammates. This is where the deal is done. It's time to take your seat at the closing table with your host, Brian Weiss.
So today I'm very, very excited to welcome a very special guest, René Rodriguez. In our industry, in real estate and in mortgage, probably doesn't need an introduction, but for those of you that like to catch up, get a quick overview. René is a nationally recognized speaker. He is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. You can get his book on Amazon, and we'll get into that in a second. He is, most importantly, I think, the creator of a workshop called Amplify, where he works with leaders to help them amplify their influence. I've gone through the workshop a number of times. I think it's incredible. And again, we'll get into that in more detail as we go. More importantly, I consider René a friend. And René, I know you've got a lot of friends. We have a special relationship, and I appreciate that. But today, on our podcast, here's what we do. We try to keep it short, 20 to 30 minutes. This podcast is for real estate agents and mortgage lenders who want to increase their game, increase their influence, increase their marketing, and therefore impact more lives. So with that, I'm going to kick it off with a question. We'll just jump right in. But my first question this morning is, René, what do you think are some of the key shifts that we could make today in this industry? It's a difficult time. We're going through a lot of transition. What are some of the key shifts that we could make today to make an impact on our business?
Well, for one, thanks for having me, Brian. I think that the question can be answered so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And to me, there's the external world, the internal world. Externally, to me, what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening in people's minds, what's happening in buying behavior, and all of that external stuff. And then there's internal stuff, which usually we respond to the external. And that's what I would ask people to think about, is saying, okay, if all these external challenges are happening, changes happening, and there's all of these things that are happening externally that we can't control, like the market, interest rates, inflation, you name it, then I know that the majority of the world is going to respond internally from that. Maybe fear, anxiety, trepidation, paralysis, all of those things. And so for me, if I'm in this market, I'm saying, okay, so I can't control the external. I can control the internal. And if most people are internally responding with the lack of movement, then I need to respond oppositely and move faster, move forward. That requires a really big look at oneself. It requires a discipline. It requires new skill sets, but it also requires somebody to actually believe in what they might feel or perceive as unknown. And when you tread forward in the face of fear, when you tread forward in the face of uncertainty, you are now leading. It's easy to lead when you know the path. It's easy to lead when you're assured of the outcome. But that's why very few people will do it. And so I think for me, those who are willing to host events, those who are willing to have the meetings, continue with a podcast like this, do the things and make the changes that they need to make during times that are uncertain are the ones that are going to do well. And one thing for a fact it hasn't changed is the fundamentals still are needed to be accomplished. Prospecting still needs to happen. You need to generate leads. You have to have a great presentation. You have to uncover value that isn't seen by your recipient audience. And you have to be able to take care of them and keep your promises. All of those things are still there. You have to keep promises to the realtor partners you work with. You have to keep promises to the people. And as well as technology that's advancing, you have to keep up with that. All of these are fundamental things that usually stop when people get scared.
Well, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think what I see happening is so many people are talking about digital media, right? Our industry as a whole is behind the curve on digital media. And therefore, I see some getting on the bandwagon and some are taking it almost too far, right? They're spending all their time and effort on digital media, but they're forgetting about the prospecting. They're forgetting about the activities that we've done that have worked for so many years. Are you seeing that too? And what are your thoughts on that issue?
We absolutely need to be into digital. I mean, you and I both, like, we've had this conversation for a couple of years now, and the reality is there. We have to be, but you can't use it as a cop out to selling. And
right.
That's the big difference, is you still have to engage in the fundamentals, and it should be a parallel process. And I think people need to understand that digital media and social media marketing and all that stuff, it's a department. That's a new discipline. It's not, it's like being a doctor and a lawyer and a doctor. Those are two completely different disciplines. We always say sales and marketing. Well, very few people are good at sales and at marketing. Usually you need two different people. There's a rare set. Now, be good at sales and marketing, and then now manage a team. Okay, so hold on. Now there's three different disciplines here. Man, that's a lot to ask. And so for me, figure out which one you're better at and triple down on that, and then hire the rest. You can write a check for somebody to helping you with marketing. Like, I write a check to that every single month, so I don't have to touch videos anymore. I used to edit my own videos. Right now, I have to hit a record button right here. I hit this record button, then it goes to my team, and they look for the content, they edit it, and they post it. And thank God, we spent months sort of aligning on what the brand was, and now they're trained. But I'm not going to do all that. There's no freaking way. And I got a big team. There's no time for my team to do it. I have to hire a team of experts to do it. And so I think as long as it's not used as a cop out, we're good.
You bring up another interesting question, which is, how would you suggest you go through that evaluation? So you said figure out what you're good at and triple down on that, and then lean on other people to do the rest, which makes perfect sense. But how do you go through that process of determining what you're better at or what your true skill set is? If it's not both.
People should be aware of which one they're better at. If not, they lack the self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. And so which one do you gravitate towards? Do you, if you like prospecting, sometimes making a cold call here and there because you need to, if you've got a great presentation and you're good one-on-one and you can truly listen and have empathy, those are sales skills. If you love dissecting the analytics behind Facebook marketing and an ad and figuring out the copy that captures and doing A/B testing and looking at hooks and writing hooks and looking at trends and what's happening in hashtags, then you love the marketing side. So don't overthink it, right? Which of those do you like better? I got to tell you right now, like, I'm a salesperson first. I can be a strategist in messaging and branding. But when it comes to execution of marketing, that is a different mindset that I get frustrated with. And you start looking at the algorithm and you start thinking about how you just open up Ads Manager in Facebook and tell me if you get excited or you get stressed. If you get excited, you're a marketer. You're in the digital marketing side. If you get stressed, you're on the sales side. That's how I'd look at it.
Okay. That's great advice. It's great advice. Now, you and I had a great conversation about 6 months ago. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was about prospecting. And it was, a very frank conversation around, skills and desires. And the conclusion I came to, and I don't even know if you and I were still on the phone after that, Sunday afternoon call, but it was, for me, it's got to start with something I truly believe in, or a team that I truly believe in. And then I have no problem doing the prospecting. And I love it. I would consider myself more on the sales than the marketing side. Also, my style might be a little bit different, but that's what I gravitate to. For prospecting, for me, it has to be something I truly believe in. Do you find that true as you're talking to sales and leaders across the country?
Well, Brian, you're a man of integrity. So what you talk about, you have to believe in, or you won't. And when we talk about like prospecting or the sales call reluctance, the first thing we look at is, are you aligned with the belief system? Because it's like, if you didn't believe in it and you were reluctant to do it, it doesn't make you reluctant to be in sales. It makes you of high integrity. It's like, hey, well, I need you to go out there and lie. No, I don't want to. Oh, you just don't like selling. No, I don't like lying. And so if you don't have an aligned belief, if you're out there recruiting and you don't believe in the company and somehow you aren't recruiting all that well, does that mean you're a bad recruiter, or you don't believe in the company? So you have to begin with what you believe. Because if you don't believe in what's going on, if you don't believe in the company that you're selling, you're just not going to be a good recruiter, not because you don't know how, but if you have any level of integrity or alignment with what your values are, you're not going to do it. And so begin with aligning with what it is that you believe, with what it is that you're selling or promoting. Make sure those are aligned first, and then engage in the skill sets. And I think you were going through a transition at the time, and internally you knew it. And so you were reluctant. So that then the frank conversation was then make a decision, find what you believe, and all of a sudden, and look what you've done.
Yep. Appreciate that for sure. All right. So I think we can't go on without fully understanding Amplify. And even though I've been through the experience many times, I still have a hard time explaining it. Talking to a friend of mine just a couple of days ago about it. And they said, well, he helps leaders increase their influence and tell their true story from their heart. But I know it's so much more than that. And it can be different for different people. So when people ask you, what is Amplify? What's the best description you can give?
So Amplify is a two-day course, very intense boot camp for a small selected group of people, designed to help them understand the science of influence and apply it. And so when we talk about the science of influence, we're talking legitimately around the art of storytelling, the self-awareness around body language. How do we make congruent words with our body all at the same time so that these things can be perfectly aligned? And then uncovering the value proposition of your business and making sure that it can lead into that. It talks about understanding the sequence of how we process information and aligning our story to be able to do that. And so, but we do it conceptually, but then you're in front of a room putting those ideas to practice with some very intense real-time feedback, real-time correction type coaching, which is what we call co-learning. And you walk out of there not just thinking differently, but with the practice of behaving differently.
That's fantastic. I love it. And it's a great event. Like I said, I've done it 3 times live and once virtually. And I come with a different agenda every time. I learn something every time. And it's been a game changer for me. And I'm grateful for it. Yeah, I'm grateful. And you have several coming up through the rest of the year, correct?
Yeah, we do 1 to 2 every month. And so we're changed the format a little bit, and we've gotten a lot more efficient with it. And we're doing it a 1.5-day format now. And it's people love it. It's a lot more intense in the approach. We get to business a little bit faster, and there's pre-work involved, so people are kind of coming ready to do their pieces. A lot of customization around that piece of it, and so it gives people another day, and it's less time away from work, but a lot more of an intense result.
So if people want to learn more about Amplify, what's the best thing they should do? Should they go to your Instagram? Should they get the book first? Do you suggest people read your book first to get a taste? Or
yeah, I think the book is a great precursor to it and a great reference. So it kind of works and serves as both. Anything you can find on my website, meetrene.com, MEET, Rene, RENE.com, and click on Amplify. That'll take you to all the places you select the dates, and also you can find the book there on Amazon as well.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And you've got a large conference coming up in the fall, right? Is it in October?
October 26th, AmpCon. Yeah, AmpCon 3. We're excited. It's going to be That's awesome. a lot of people getting together that have been through this, a room full of leaders, top performers that are all looking for how do they amplify and grow their influence from the inside out. And so it's a pretty cool group of people that are all committed to the same thing.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you. Any parting thoughts? I think we can wrap this up here. The idea, like I said, is to keep it short, concise, but any parting thoughts, my friend?
Go back to the basic pieces. If you're out there in understanding the external versus the internal, and ask yourself, if your internal isn't aligned and you're doing that, fix that. But if you're internally aligned and you're making all the actions and you're doing all the things, then go out and find that talent that is working for leaders that aren't aligned, and help them find a home. This is a time for you to shine. This is a time for you to be loud about what you believe. And this is a time for leaders to step forward and really start making a bigger impact. And so I hope one of those messages finds you well.
That is awesome. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. I know you just came off a big trip, so I know you're beat, but I appreciate you giving me the time anyway.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, my friend. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks, Rene.
Take care.
Follow The Closing Table everywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you found value here, invite a colleague or friend who could benefit from a visit too. To connect with Brian, visit connectwithbw.com. We'll see you next time at The Closing Table with Brian Weiss.